Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute mini elf. He is all one piece, and then we will have to do a little bit of embroidering and then add his little tassel at the top of his head. And then I also have a sample of the plush version using this exact same pattern. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. And then for the plush version I use a number 6 blanket yarn, a 5.5 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell. Not only will that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we're going to start at the top of the head, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end. So what I do is I fold my yarn over in half. I'm going to pinch it up at the top, wrap that around my finger, down and through to make my knot. I'm going to pinch that little end of the loop, and then I'm just going to slide my knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. And I'm going to insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 8. So 1 single crochet for 1, another single crochet for 2, and an increase for 3 and 4. And then repeat that. 5, 6, and an increase for 7 and 8. Row 3, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 10. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase for 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, and an increase for 9 and 10. Row 4, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Row 5, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 16. 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16. Row 6, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 20. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20. Row 7, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 8, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one we're going to change color, so we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to cut our green but leave enough of a tail to tie. Grab whatever color you're using for the hat brim, and we're just going to tie our old color to our new color. Whoop, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to pull that new color through those last 2 loops on your hook to finish off the last stitch stitch of your previous row. Now for the next row, we're going to be going in the front loops. So if you've never done that before, instead of going down through and under both of those V's, you're going to just catch that front loop. You're going to come up through the V, and it's very important that you go through all the front loops on this row, because the next row we'll be needing these back loops to continue on. So for row 9, in the front loops, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So catch that front loop, come up between the V, and do your single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and let's just flip it over, have a look. You should be seeing this little line of back loop stitches, and then you know that you're doing it right. Continue on. The front loops, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie off, leave yourself a little bit of a tail so we can weave that to the inside later. Okay, now we're going to attach our face color, and you can attach your yarn any way you prefer. I will be making my knot with the loop on the end. So my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Oops. And now we're going to go into the front loop, and if you're ever unsure where your first one's going to be, if you take your first stitch right there at the bottom, kind of flip it over and see where that stitch is on this side. That is where your first front loop is going to be. So let's put our yarn on our hook, pull it through that back loop, and then I'm just going to chain one, and I try and leave this knot on the inside if I can. Row 10, in the back loops, we are going to do 24 single crochet all the way around, and we're going to start in that same stitch that we attached our yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, and then when we start our next row, remember that we have that chain there. We don't want to be going in there. We want to be going underneath that little V for our first stitch. So for row 11, we're going to start off with 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do what I call a double crochet cluster of 3. So we're going to start by going yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that'll be 1, yarn over again in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that'll be 1, 2, yarn over, go in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn, go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to grab your yarn and go through all those loops on your hook. Give it a bit of a pull. You may have to pop that out with your finger, and then starting in that next stitch, we're going to do 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're going to do another double crochet cluster of 3s. So 1, 2, 3, and then pull through all those loops on your hook. And then we should have 7 single crochets to finish off the rest of the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 12, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 13, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th stitch, we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, because we're going to change color here again. We're done with this color, so we can cut that off. Make sure you leave enough of a tail for tying. Now you're going to grab whatever color you're using for the little collar. And again, you're just going to tie your old color to your new color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then pull that new color through those last 2 loops of your previous row to finish off that stitch. And we're going to be going in the front loops again. So remember, we're going to go down under that first front loop and then up through the V of the stitch. So we're saving these back loops for the next row. So row 14 in the front loops, we're going to start with an increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 2 slip stitches. Remember that this whole row is front loops. So that's 1 and 2. And then just repeat that all the way around. So increase and 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. Increase and 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. Increase and 2 slip stitches. 1 and 2. 2. Increase and 2 slip stitches. 1 and 2. Increase and 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. Increase and 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. Increase and 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. And then if you want, you can just go into that next little stitch, do another slip stitch, tie off, leaving a bit of a tail so we can put that in to the inside later. Alright, now we're going to be attaching our next color again. So again, however you prefer to attach your yarn, I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end. My loop being just big enough to get my hook in. Find your front loop. So if you need to, check where that first increase is, fold it over. There's my increase on the back side, so that's my back loop. Insert our hook into our loop, pull it up, try and keep that knot on that same side, and chain 1. Now for row 15 in the back loops, 24 single crochets all the way around, and remember we're starting in that same stitch we just attached our yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And again, for this next row, make sure you're going underneath that first V of your stitch and not in your chain. And for row 16, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one, we're going to change color. So we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook, and don't cut your yarn because we're just doing 1 row and then we're switching back to the green, so we don't need to cut that. We'll just pick it up. So now you're going to grab your little belt color, and we'll just tie that new color to our old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then pull that new color through those 2 loops on your hook to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Now for row 17, we're just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then we're going to switch back to our green on our 24th stitch. So go in, grab your yarn, pull up. We're going to cut our black, so the color that you just did your belt with, and then you're going to tie that back on to your body color that you were just using 2 or 3 times. And then pull that color through those last 2 loops to finish off that stitch. Row 18, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. Make sure you're in that first stitch, because sometimes when you do black it's hard to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 19, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. All right, I'm going to take my hook out now. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to add the eyes, and then we'll add some stuffing. Flip these down a little bit. So grab those and get those ready. What you're going to do is come down to your second row of your skin color, and you're going to find right where your ears are. You're going to go skip one hole, and your eye's going to go in the next hole. Whoop. So ear, hole, eye. And then do the same thing on the other side. Oh, I can't grab these for some reason. Ear, hole, eye. And you should have 4 holes in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you've got those in where you want them, we'll just put the backs on. If it helps, flip it inside out so you can reach. And then let's add a little bit of stuffing too. What you want to do is get a little bit up into the point first, just so you can fill that out. Sometimes when we're smushing it around, the stuffing will come down a bit, and I'll show you how to fix that later. So once you have the point kind of full, just continue putting more inside. And we want him to be about 2/3 full. So enough that you don't have to add a lot of stuffing when you get down to your last row, but not so much that when you're doing your last 2 rows, it's in your way. So this is probably where I'm going to stop. Squish it down in there really good. Let's get our hook back in. Now for the next row, we're going to be going in the back loop. So you're going to be coming down in between the V, catching that back loop and leaving these front loops so that our work ends up going flat. So for row 20, in the back loops, 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 16. So 1 single crochet, decrease, for 2, 3, decrease, for 4, 5, decrease, for 6, 7, decrease, for 8, whoops, 9, this is bugging me and I don't know why, decrease for 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, decrease for 14, 15, and our last decrease for 16. Then we're just going to add a little bit more stuffing here. So you want most of it in now. And what you're going to do is kind of push it out to the sides. So you kind of make a corner around the bottom. What I like to do is kind of put my fingers in the middle, squish it out, and then I'll stick stuffing down in the middle if I need to after. And for row 21, we are going to do 8 decreases. So decrease for 1, decrease for 2, decrease for 3, decrease for 4, decrease for 5, decrease for 6, decrease for 7, and decrease for 8. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. I'll tie that off. Leave yourself quite a bit of a tail, so if you want to later on, you can make a little loop with it for hanging. And we're not going to close this up right now because we're going to do all our embroidering through the bottom. All right, let's start putting all our little ends in here. And you may have to kind of play with your little collar and brim. It just depends how you stuffed it. So we'll thread one of our ends on. I'm doing the hat first. And if you want, you can come around a stitch and kind of even that out. And then I'm just going to come down right in between where the two colors meet and out the bottom. Now if you want, you can tie it there before you come down. And then let's do the same thing on the little collar. I'm going to take my stitch marker out so it's out of my way. And then I'm just coming down right in the same hole where I ended my row there and out the bottom. And again, you could tie it right there before you go in if you're worried about it coming out. Just give those a cut. Save these little ends, you can use them for the pom-pom afterwards. And we're going to do the little hands next, so grab a little piece of your matching skin color. We're going to come up through the bottom, and we're going to come just one row down on the green and just kind of to the center or outside of his eye. So we're right here. And see, I'm just a little off center from his eye. And we're going to go around this stitch towards the outside 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then on our our fourth one, we're going to come down and over to the other side and do the same thing. So just in the stitch that matches, just kind of underneath the center of his eye. I'm a tad bit to the outside of the eye on this one. If you do that and you decide you're too far, you can just go this way instead. But I'm going to be going backwards to the outside. 1, 2, 3, and then on our fourth one, out the bottom, and we'll give that a little tie. Not too tight because you don't want to pull your little hands anymore. Get that a cut. Now if you notice that your hands are very different sizes, you can take your little needle, come underneath all the stitches and just give it a bit of a wiggle and a pull, and then do the same thing on the other side. A wiggle and a pull. That's a little better. I'm going to do the feet, so grab some black or whatever color you want his shoes to be. Red might be fun too to match his trim. Come up through the bottom and just above your front loop row where you see those front loops and the center of the hand, you're going to come in that stitch or hole. You'll see I'm right under the center of my hand there. And this time we're going to go to the inside. Leave enough string on the bottom for tying. We're going to go towards the center around that one stitch 4 times. 1, whoopsie, 2, 3, and then on the fourth one, you're going to go down over to the other side, just above that front loop row and underneath the center of the hand, and then towards the inside. 4 times around. 1, 2, 3, and then on the fourth one, out the bottom. And again, I have one foot a little bigger than the other, so I'm just going to come on this side and just pull those out a bit. Whoopsie, that's a lot. And then try and even those ones out. Excuse me. Tie those up. Loose to start and tighter as you go. Cut those ends. And now I'm just grabbing a little scrap of yellow to do the little belt buckle. And we're just going to be making the square around the center of its belly here somewhere. So up the bottom, kind of figure out where your center is. I'm going to use this green as my center, this green stitch. So I'm going to come over on this side, just above the black, where the black and the green meet. Leave a little thread for tying. I'm going to go around that stitch, and then I'm going to come over to this side in the black. And make the bottom of my buckle. This one might be a little smaller than my other one. It's however you want to do it. Then we're going to come up over to this side to make my little bar on the side. And then up to this side to make the other bar on the other side. And down and out to tie. You may just have to play with this a little bit to make it how you want it to look. And then if you're happy with it, tie it. Again, you'll tie that nice and loose. Tighter as you go. As soon as you can pull it tight without the knot sliding, that's good enough. Now you're going to get a little bit of black. Generally, I separate my yarn. There's usually 4 strands. I've already separated this and used it 3 times, so I only have 1 left. So this is just 1 piece of 4-strand black yarn. Use embroidery thread if you have it. I'm going to thread that on. And we're going to come up and we're going to use this stitch here beside the eye and this stitch here beside the eye, and this will be our center down here. So I'm just going to hold in the center. We're going to come up here. So start in the bottom, come up in that hole right beside your eye, 1 row up of your skin color. Leave a little bit of thread for tying. You're going to come down in that center stitch and then come up over here. And you may have to go kind of in that stitch so it's a little more even. Just because when you go in the round, our stitches aren't always even. Just have a look at it. And then come down to that center and out the bottom. Now you don't want to pull this too tight. Just enough to keep some tension on it, and then we'll tie that on the bottom as well. Cut those ends. Okay, now I'm going to take the 2 scrap ends that I just cut off of my brim and collar, and then I want to get 1 more piece. So I'm going to take my longest piece, and that is going to be what I make the little tassel with. So about 3 fingers wide. I'm just going to wrap around a couple of times. So I think that's 3 times. Then you're going to place that onto one of your strings. We're going to be tying that. But we also need a 3rd string if we're going to be braiding at this. So I'm just going to take my 3rd string. I don't know. Oh, you can't really see that maybe. So the length of one side and then up. And I'm going to tie that over all of that. So that middle string I'm just tying in the center around the loops I made and the 1 extra string. So just like that. And make sure they're all about centered. Tie it nice and tight. Then you're going to take your 3 long strands. That's the piece you'll be braiding. And then take your other little ends. That's your tassel. You can give them a cut to whatever length you want. Then you're just going to braid all these ends. And I'm going to see if I can do it on here without pulling my tablecloth off. So I'm just pinning it on either side, so there's some tension there. And you're just going outside to inside if you've never braided before. That's probably enough. So probably, well, not an inch, but maybe a little more than half an inch. Let's have a little look. It's probably a little longer than I want. So maybe about a half an inch or a centimeter. I'm just going to take a couple out. That's long enough. I'm going to take 2 ends and I'm going to put them into the top of the hat. So I'm just going to grab a stitch on one side of my starting loop. Pull those ends through. And then I got to grab my other end. It's looking like this right now. Thread that other end on. And we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. So here's my front, my tassel, my 1 stitch. So I want to go across, catch a stitch on this side. I don't have quite the whole little stitch there. I don't know if it matters. Well, so it's going to look like this. And then you're just going to tie these ends together nice and tight and put them down the center of the, oops, make sure you're not pulling your braid out there. So you'll do a little better job than I'm doing here. I'm trying to look in the camera and not in the camera at the same time. Thread those ends on. And then down the center and out the back somewhere. And I'm going to go in the green here because I have a little bit of space here and I don't want to see my red. You might kind of mishmash your hat a bit, but I'll show you how to fix that. And we'll cut those off. So if you've squished your hat like I did, using a metal needle, just come in, kind of grab some stuffing and push it up into the top there. And there we go. I guess it wants to go this way this time. There, cute little Alfie. Oh, and I guess we better close them up before we go here. So we'll thread on our closing tail. Now, if you do not like the look of all these ends right here, you can take a tiny little bit of stuffing and then just kind of smush it in there so you can't see them anymore. And now all we're going to do is weave in and out of the top loops of our last row. And if you're using the plush yarn, go about halfway, pull them tight, and then go the rest of the way and pull it tight. And there, I'm all the way around now, I think. So pull that tight up. A little bit of stuffing there, popping out. Then we'll just tie it in the next stitch, make a knot. And then we'll thread that up the center and out the top of the hat, kind of behind where you put your tassel. If there is a bit of a knot there, make sure you go around it because you don't want to pull that knot out. And then again, might have to fix the top of the hat. And there we go. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does it help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.